Story time, another one. So let me describe a moment. You are sitting in a seminar or you go for a conference where maybe there's a round table discussion of about 12 to 15 people. The discussion is probably about a research method, something you know well, something you've extensively, read about. You have an informed perspective on this methods or on this issue. Then someone makes a point and you have a response forming in your head and you know that this response is very good. Then you open your mouth. But before you even finish making your first sentence, someone talks over you. Not aggressively, of course. Not deliberately. Probably not. The person just talks over you. And the conversation continues. 3 minutes later, another person makes almost the same point, exactly the same point that you were making. And the room responds. They respond, with positivity, like, yes, welcoming the person's response. Some people say, yes, this is it. Some people nod at them and smile. The conversation then builds on from there. And you just sit there and you're wondering, what just happened? You're doing the math in your head. Was it the idea? You begin to ask yourself. Was it the delivery? Was it the accent? Was it something about how I take up space in this room that I don't fully understand yet? Or is it that I'm not supposed to be in this room at all? For many of us, you will never know the answer to that question. And a lot of uncertainty will come with this. And that uncertainty, which is almost unresolvable, right, is part of what I want to talk about today. Because it breeds a lot of self-doubt, and is why many African professionals hide themselves. Welcome back to Rhoda 360. My name is Rhoda, and this is part of our series, The African Professional Abroad. If you've not been following me, this is your chance. Please subscribe to this channel, like and engage on our videos. You can go back to past videos. I've been trying, although not really consistent because of my research, but then I've been trying to put out information that would help people pivoting, people changing careers, people moving abroad, already abroad, just professionals settling down in the kind of life they've always dreamed about. Today's episode is one that I've been thinking about for ages because I didn't know how to bring it out without sounding aggressive or arrogant, or I didn't want to offend anyone. Right. So it's been something I've been thinking about. In fact, when I put it on my Instagram some time ago, that very soon we'll talk about how African professionals are treated in a room. And I mentioned the accent issue. A friend of mine DM'd me. I was like, you want to burn down the place? But it's not because I want to burn down the place. It's just because, see, some of these conversations need to be had. So we need to talk about some of these things. And some Africans who are just moving abroad would need to know that they are not alone, in this space, especially those in academics or in the academic environment. You're never alone. Now, this is not the most complicated issue that one has to discuss, but this one is most personal. It's very, very personal. And because I think that getting it right in a way, goes beyond just delivering it as a content. I need to put a lot of my stories into this for people to understand how personal this is to me and why this kind of discussion, right, should be had. If you're watching on YouTube, please again help me subscribe, build my platform. If you're listening on Spotify, do the same. Subscribe, follow. If there's anything you don't like about the content I share at all, please let me know. If there's anything you think I should improve on, please let me know either in DMs or in the comment section. Now I want to actually talk about what it actually feels like to be the only African in that room, in the body, what it feels in the body, what it feels in the mind, what it feels in the professional identity, especially if you are in the academic environment, which I am. It is not about the theory of diversity and inclusion. Even if you came in through diversity and inclusion criteria, this is not a list of microaggressions from one corporate training manual. No. This is a lived experience. So I want to say upfront, I'm not speaking for every African professional. Even before I even said that, I mean, some of you know that I did my undergraduate in Nigeria, worked a bit, then I went to Thailand for my master's degree. Now imagine being the only African in a Thai department of about, say, 200 or 150 students having a seminar, having a weekly seminar, and you are the only African in that room. Imagine that, right? Then I finished my master's there, spent 2 years in Thailand, finished my master's, and I got a PhD position in New Zealand. New Zealand is another journey on its own. New Zealand is diverse, but it's not as diverse as it is for an African. If someone from Asia is saying New Zealand is diverse, that person will be seeing it from their own perspective. But as an African, New Zealand may not be that diverse for me. As an African in academia, in my department, in my school, it might not be that diverse for me. That's why I say this experience might not be for every African professional. Some Africans may not be coming from Africa directly. They would have lived in other Western countries before moving, before changing locations. So it's not, our experiences are not monolithic at all. They are different. Now, what I'm offering is my own experience and the patterns that I've seen reflected in the experiences of other African professionals that I have interacted with. And so you can take whatever resonates with you and leave whatever does not. So if you're a colleague or a friend or a peer who is not African, and you found this episode, I genuinely hope you stay, because this conversation is ultimately for all of us. Yeah. So first of all, let me name what this episode is all about, because I don't even have a title for it. And this is not some ranting episode. This is well structured. So before I get into the specific experiences and the practical examples I have, I want to be precise about what I want to be describing, because I may not have the perfect words for those feelings or those situations yet. Probably later when I'm done with my program, I'll have the brightest description for it. But right now, I'm just saying it the way it comes into my mind. Of course, I'll try to be civil and not say some few words. Now, being the only African in the room, in a seminar, in a department, in a research group, is not a numerical fact. It's one that activates a set of dynamics that are largely invincible to the majority of the people in the room. However, it is visible, strongly visible to the person experiencing them. Now, the experiences have several layers. Several layers that operate simultaneously. Now, there's a cognitive layer. The cognitive layer involves the additional mental processing that is required to, navigate this new cultural environment that was not designed with you, an African, in mind, right? Then there is the emotional burden, the emotional layer, where the specific feelings arise when you are hyper visible. You are hyper visible as different physically, but then you are invincible as an individual. I'll break that down later. Then there's the professional layer, the ways in which being the only one from your region or from Africa affects how your competence is perceived. I've discussed it before with one of my guests, and how your contributions, your professional contributions are received, and what opportunities come your way and what opportunities do not come your way. Now, for this one, let me quickly mention this here. I've applied for departmental or faculty wide casual, not even permanent or part-time, not even part-time at all, casual jobs that I would have gotten based on my qualifications, but because there's this perception of she's African, what can she bring into the table? They'll rather take someone who's, and I'm sorry to say, they'll rather take someone whose command of English is not appropriate for that job, but has a similar skin color to them, than to take me, who is Black and African. Do you understand? So if you are a professional in the setting, this could shake you. This could create this sense of doubt, this sense of self-doubt, when you begin to question yourself. Not to go too far. Now, these 4 layers are always running at once. In fact, you can feel these emotions. You can have this experience, if you are not careful, in a single day. They run at once. That's the general experience, right? And it's a single strongly, I'm really trying to be careful of my words here. All this weight of all these operating layers in every professional interaction that happens for years, as long as you are in that setting, as long as you're in that environment, as long as you're just trying to settle, into either that job, into that career. And that is what I'm mapping out today with specific examples that I have experienced, or from discussions I've had with people. First of all, let's talk about the hypervisibility. That paradox of you are too visible, yet you are that thing that looks as if you are too visible for the room. Now, the first thing that surprised me about being the only African in my own academic environment was this: you are always the most visible person in the room, but one of the most overlooked. Now, this has affected me. I have seen this pattern right to volunteer services when I go for volunteer events. In fact, I just stopped going for one because here I am spending my time volunteering, right? But you want to not appreciate my effort or not value me because I do not look like you. So I'm there, visible. My color makes me visible. My hair makes me visible. My accent makes me visible to the person in the room. But all these other things, irrespective of my professional background or what I can bring into the table, makes me the most overlooked person in the room. Now, let me explain further by what I mean by that. So that, because it sounds contradictory that, oh, how can you be visible yet overlooked? Now, you are hyper visible in ways that have nothing to do with your work. Your presence is noticed in a way that majority of your colleagues' presence is not. So when you walk into a room that you have not been before, say a faculty meeting or a conference session or a facilitation kind of event, you're supposed to be facilitating an event, which I did last year. And the announcement is on now, and I'm not going to register for it because of what I felt, all the emotions and all the experiences I went through last year. You know, it's sometimes a glance, the slight calibration, adjustment, like she's coming to sit here, so they readjust. Sometimes is a slightly too deliberate welcome when you arrive, when you open the door and you come in. You know, they welcome you specially in a way that they will not welcome another person. You get, so you now, that welcome like registers your presence as in a significant way, in a way that when other white people or Asian people walk into the door, you know, so you feel because now the thing is confusing, right? Because it's not always hostile. There's this genuine loving smile they do it with, because most times is well intentioned. Most times is because they want to make you feel comfortable as the only person of this color in the room. But it is exhausting in a specific way. And, you know, most of these people don't know how to pretend. You get it, not as if they don't know how to pretend, but they are not, there's this word I'm looking for. They don't know how to not express their emotions with their face. If you find that word, put it in the comment section. For instance, in my first year, I attended a departmental event, not many of us, about, I think, 25 thereabout. And someone that I had not met before then, you know, approached me in a friendly manner. And after a brief introduction, the next question was which country I was from. And another one was whether I found New Zealand very different from home. Now, all these questions were before my research. All these questions were before, what are you doing? What is your research about? Are you enjoying your research? What phase are you right now? All this was before my professional background. All these questions. Before anything about why I was in that room. It was my geography that was the most important, interesting thing about me at that moment for this person and for majority of them. And this was a room full of researchers. This was a room full of creme de la creme. This is of the university, of the academic environment in that, you know, and along the way, you can be overlooked in ways that matter most. See, I can be overlooked when it comes to accent or other things, but you see, when it comes to my intellectual contributions, it hurts. your professional insights, the specific expertise you bring into the room. And sometimes this expertise, I'm sorry to say, but your colleagues don't even have. This can be structurally or even systematically undervalued. Not always through malice, but through a set of unconscious assumptions about where expertise lives and what it sounds like. Let me give you another example. I have been in discussions where I raised a point from my clinical background. This was even not too far along now. Now, this view was directly relevant and it came from, my many years of practice. And that point was, I made that point and it was not directly relevant at that moment to them. So they just passed over it. Nobody engaged with it. About 10 minutes later, during discussion and everything, a colleague without the clinical background, because how it is in the research environment is, although I'm a pharmacist, I'll be working with other researchers who are either not pharmacists, but working in pharmacy school or doing research in pharmacy school, or this interdisciplinary stuff. Yeah, it's happening a lot. So you can have someone from computer science coming to do research in the School of Pharmacy, someone from the School of Pharmacy going to do research in probably management science or something. So it was that kind of interdisciplinary environment. Now, this other colleague who did not have a clinical experience made an adjacent observation, but with less specificity. Like what he said didn't matter at all. It didn't connect to the conversation. But then it became the anchor for the rest of the conversation. You see, my own point was just shifted away or just thrown aside politely. Nobody said anything. Nobody said, Rhoda, this is too clinical for this discussion, or this is not important. No, nobody said anything. But when he made his own point, it became something they all talked about till the end of, the conversation, to the end of, that meetup. And this is a pattern that I have watched repeats itself enough times to understand that it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. And, in this pattern, what annoys me more is that you'll be thinking that, okay, it's the fully white people that do it mostly, or that should be doing it mostly. It will come as a surprise when people of color like you would do it to you, or would mostly do it to you. People of color like Indians, Pakistanis, Chinese, sometimes. It's just that, most of the Chinese people I've met are a bit quiet. Yeah. But it comes as, it's annoying when the people of color, people that should understand, where the people that should understand the struggles are the ones that will do it for you mostly, because in their head, they're struggling for position with you or something. They do not want you to be there. Things like that. Just vague reasons for treating people with utmost disrespect. Now, this hypervisibility paradox, this being seen different yet being the overlooked expert in the room, is one of the consistent features of the experiences of being the only African in a professional academic room. And it's cruelty that I'll call it. It's that it operates quietly. It operates quietly. It's so quiet that naming it feels sometimes like an overreaction. For instance, if calling out somebody, okay, if for instance, those other two conversations that I was talked over, if I had made, if I had said anything like, I mean, you guys, you didn't answer me, if I had reacted, it would have been as though I was overreacting, because they didn't come through as being rude or not in a malicious way. It was just that quietly overlooking me, quietly overlooking my professional expertise, while visibly overseeing me there. The reason why I'm overlooked is because they saw my look, they saw my color, my hair is different from what their normality is. I'm going to stop this video here now. It's already 26 minutes. I feel it just too long. I'll continue with the other layers, the accent, the representation layers in other videos. But one thing is that, that self-doubt from hypervisibility yet being overlooked, and is part of the experience. And don't let go. It's just part of it. Whether you are in the US, in the UK, in Australia, in any part of the world where you are the only African in the room, it's normal. You're going to feel a sense of self-doubt once in a while in your journey. Don't give up. Don't go and hide yourself. When they call for representation of some form of service or of some form, and you can do it, you have your time to do it, raise up your hand and do it. You see, no matter what they do, nobody in that room, provided you have been invited to that room, either as a student, as a researcher, as a professional in the corporate world, and you are qualified to be there. If there was anybody more qualified for your role, it's that person that would have been standing there. But fortunately or unfortunately for them, you are the qualified expertise, and that's why you are there. So hold on. There's this jingle in Nigeria that say, Yakubu, hold on, no give up. Yeah, it's bad. It can crush someone's emotions and self-image and mental health at times, but hold on. Don't give up. Keep pushing and you will get there. Someday, sometime soon, you will get there. This is Rhoda 360. Take care of yourself and each other. See you in the next couple of videos where we'll still be breaking this down. Please follow, subscribe, like, share, and see ya. Take care.